Medianoche.
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 Yeah, what's up, y'all? This is the Medianoche podcast. Art Morera, we back at it again, man. You know what I'm saying? Episode 45. I'm here at the Mimo District on that overnight, if you already know. And on this episode, I have a returning guest and a homie that I've known for a long time that I've been meaning to have an episode with as well. I got Ghostly Young Sage and Acey Ace. Yo.
Still doing that.
That's fire, bro.
Yeah, man, gotta keep it alive.
Thanks for coming through, guys. You know, we've been chatting for a minute, like even before I started pressing record. And it's actually a little weird now that the formality's out the way and we're recording an episode, because what we was talking about before we started might as well have been on the podcast too, man. You know, I enjoy hearing y'all's input, or just like our conversations on hip hop, man. I don't really have many homies that I kick it with casually to talk about hip hop outside of what we're personally working on, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's dope, man. What's been up with y'all?
Not much, man. We've just been cooking up in the stew, kind of working on our own independent projects and trying to increase collaboration and stuff so that, gain exposure in outside markets. We've been working in Miami for so long. You know, we finally got our foothold into a nice Broward situation, and we're traveling up to Orlando, working with some cats out there, getting experience with some singers, and really just having a good time with it is really all that it's come down to. If the more you make it less like work, the less like work it feels like, you know?
I feel you, bro. It's true. You know, like, this is what we want to do with our lives, and when you don't enjoy it no more, that's when it really starts to feel like work. And y'all, thankfully, you guys aren't there. Hopefully, you guys never reach that point where it feels like just unpassionate work, you know?
Yeah, it always comes down to the creative drive. You know, like, we can't sleep without creating something fresh. So it's never gonna get old. It's just the formalities that go along with it. We have to get better at that kind of stuff in order for it to feel less like work.
Like, what do you mean? What do y'all mean by formality specifically for those that don't know?
I'll let Ace flesh out a little bit more of this, but definitely stuff like definitely like tracking out stuff, because when we make stuff, necessarily it's not like most people make things on Fruity Loops or some concrete time form where it's all just start to end. But when we started working in Ableton, where it's more of like a live loop setting. So because of that, we'll create a whole entire song, but it'll only be a 25-second loop. And then, you know, we don't want to spend, we've already spent an hour working on it and it sounds great. So we don't feel like we want to keep beating a dead horse and we move on to the next project. But we got to go back and track that into a 2-minute song for somebody. You know what I mean? That's part of finishing the work, you know?
You're talking about like how when you work in Ableton, you just, because mind you, I use Machine to produce. And I've seen, I have homies obviously that are trying to convert me over to Ableton. And I've seen videos on how the way that Ableton works is similar to Machine. For those that don't know, we're talking about digital audio workstations, which is like the programs that people use to make beats, if you're not familiar. But you create like, you load up one instrument and you make a melody with it, and then you load up another one, and it just becomes like lasagna, like just mad layers of different instruments. And what you're talking about is a 25-second loop consists of everything, and then to expand that over the course of 2-3 minutes means picking and choosing what to leave in and take out to kind of...
Yeah, exactly. Like, you flesh out the song from those bits. So certain things are only for the chorus, certain things that you know, for the verses, things like that. So once you have all the elements, it's like now we need to expand it to an entire song and actually make it, dynamics. So it's not just a loop for like 3 minutes straight. It actually, like, there's, you can tell when the chorus is happening, you can tell it's the verse, and then it also leads you back into the chorus, which is another thing I like to do production wise, is the artist knows when the chorus is back. You know what I mean? Like, there's an indicator, like a riser or something that lets them know, oh, you're going back to the hook. You know what I'm saying? So this is where your verse, write your verse to here. Like, I like putting stuff like that so the artist doesn't really got to think too much about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, take the guesswork out of it. So he just has to like insert here, insert there, and it's like becomes like a factory. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like me and him together. It's essentially like a factory line. Like, I do 2 elements, pass the baton to him. He puts 2 elements into the beat. He passes it back to me, and then we end up like doing like 4 or 5 beats in one night, just like back to back to back to back, like easy. And working with him like keeps me creatively, you know, functioning, because if I'm just by myself, sometimes you just get lazy. You're just like, oh, I'm just gonna watch Netflix. I'm just gonna be on YouTube all day. I'm gonna play video games or whatever. You don't have that same discipline but when you're with your homie, you're feeding off each other's energy, you know what I'm saying? And just like vibing, playing, you know what I'm saying? Like, and he has different ideas than I have. Like, I thought the beat was going one way, and then he adds his 2 elements, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, we're taking it this direction? All right, let me add this to it. And he's like, oh, that give me a new idea. So it also, you know, that creative drive is there to like, oh man, we're crafting something that's like brand new. Every time we make a beat, it's always a new thing. So I never get bored of it. So,
I mean, but like, y'all work together, and does that ever get to a point where you're kind of going somewhere with it, and then when it's Ghost's turn to play an instrument, it may, in your mind, Ghost, you're building on to something, but in your mind, Ace, it may be like derailing where you had imagined it to kind of go in your head. Does that happen often?
100%. I mean, but that's actually part of the process of blending with other artists and creating something new, is that you can't necessarily tell them. This is why theory is so important, because like if you know the theory is wrong and you tell me, okay, this doesn't work because the rhythm's wrong, or this doesn't work because the note is in the wrong place with this chord, that's information, that's criticism that I can accept. But if you just say that you're not vibing with it, you know, that's kind of harder to swing with another artist, because it's like, well, I'm vibing with it. So now we have a 50-50 situation where 1 out of every 2 people is going to like it or not. And, you know, that's part of the collaboration effort.
And also, like, just to interject, my bad, but me and Ghost, we take our ego out of it. You know what I'm saying? That's probably what causes more clashes between collaborators, is that if I start the beat and then he veers off in a different direction, then my ego is like, no, I thought the beat was like this. And, you know, that's what would make people be like, oh, you know, clash. But to me, it's more of a creative challenge than to take it like, oh, he took it the wrong way. No, it's like, now creatively, okay, what can I put my own spin on what he just did? You get me? That's more of like a challenge for me, and I love challenging myself. So that doesn't bother me if he takes it like, maybe in my mind I thought we were making like a boom bap jazzy beat, and he adds like a synthy lead to it, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Oh, so y'all are like constantly adapting to each other.
That was exactly what I was gonna say. Is adaptation is the key to music. Is because if you don't adapt with each other, then the new stuff is harder to come by. You know what I mean?
You know, I'm yet to experience frequent collaboration on music, because you know, I was once in a group, and that I only rapped when I was in that group, and then I went completely solo and started to work with producers. And you know, at that time, you don't really have much input, because you don't even know the language to tell them change this and that. You just kind of accept it like your barber. You're just like, all right, bro, thanks, man. You know? And like, now I make beats on my own, and I don't have no one to tell me otherwise. It's literally just a uncompromised production. But when I was making Buena Gente, the song that I had with you, Ghost, like, you and I did what y'all do, which is we go back and forth. You lay something, then I lay something, and it was cool, man. It was a cool vibe, you know? And that's an interesting workflow, bro, you know?
Yeah, I think since I came from playing in bands and stuff, I was always used to, like, the 3 of us, my band was like, everybody shares ideas with each other, and then we would craft the songs out of all of our ideas. You share your ideas, like, it's, you don't...
It's like a forum.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to make it work, you know what I'm saying? And you have to find a way to compromise, and egos clash. Of course, egos are going to clash. It's like, you can't avoid that. But once you get used to it and you learn how to work through that, it helps you collaborate with other people. And then I was in a group of 5, it was all 5 MCs, you know what I'm saying? So
The Geek Squad.
yeah, exactly. My group Geek Squad, which then became the band PCRK, which was then 9 members, I think it was, or 8 members. And I was band leader. So I would be the guy, saying, no, this is this part, da-da-da-da. And then they would, bring their ideas to the table and I would make it work. So, of course, there was clashes of like, no, that beat, nah, I mean, what that beat. So I made the law of like, okay, all 5 of us have to agree on a beat. If all 5 of us don't agree, then it's not on the project. So then by the end of it, it's democratic. It's like with all the beats that was on the project, all 5 of us are like, oh yeah, that's dope. You know what I'm saying?
It's like when they talk about the Beatles on how they worked. The main 2 guys was Paul McCartney and John Lennon. They were kind of like the leaders. Even though obviously George Harrison and Ringo, bro, we're talking about the Beatles here. But I'm referencing them because when the songs that were written, the ones that Paul McCartney mainly wrote, he was spearheading the whole thing. He'll tell everyone, you play this, you play the drums like this, you play the bass like this, or he played bass. But with John Lennon, from what these stories that that we've heard, is that he'll let everyone have complete creative freedom. Look, man, you play the bass line you feel is right and whatever. So it's like they're both equally dope, but just completely different approaches.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that. It's like when I was making beats originally, I was started out doing it all by myself, and because of that, it was sounding, to me it sounded great, and but I still didn't feel proud of it because I wasn't fully engrossed in theory enough to know when I was doing something wrong, which is in hip hop. That's what people don't understand, is that when you're in rock or you're in country or any other genre almost where you have to interact with other artists, you can't play wrong notes. It doesn't work. You know what I mean? Jazz is one of those things where that kind of goes out the window. But even then, they still understand where to place these wrong notes. But what I'm trying to circle around to is the fact that when I first started off, my beats were garbage. I didn't know it. But it was 1 out of every 10 had something worth it there, but there was still so much wrong with it, and I didn't know how to fix it, right? So I sought out working with artists that I listened to as a child, and that was Geek Squad, that was the High Guys, and I learned a little bit from every one of them. I learned from Aquaman, I learned the creative side of sampling and kind of cutting and warping and mangling stuff to sound nothing like the original, and chopping and slicing. With Ace, he taught me the theory and working with bandmates and kind of like trying to figure out what's wrong with it instead of just being like, oh, you don't like it? Well, then fuck this. You gotta, it took a lot, because he would say, nah. And this is where it changes, okay? When I played something that I genuinely liked, I'd look over my shoulder and I'd be like, you rocking with it? And be like, nah. And right there, almost 90% of hip hop heads are going to be like, oh yeah, well fuck this part. Well, let's make something new. Or, oh, I don't know, you just do the next part. But I'd be like, but why is it nah? What's nah? Is it the melody? Is it the instrument sound itself? Like, should I change the preset on the instrument? Should I change the sequence and the way I'm playing it? Are the notes bad? Which note is the worst, so I can figure out where to put that and try to figure out my options. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was this video that I saw online when I was really getting into learning how to produce. I bought Machine and I had the I had the Mark III or the Mark II in front of me and Machine on the computer screen, right? And I'm like, word, I know that Machine has scale mode, right? Which is like
incredibly important.
It's amazing, right? So you pick the root note, the scale, major, minor, Japanese, whatever, and then the 16 pads light up each octave, and then the rest of the 7 notes is your scale, And I'm like, word, this is really easy. So I go on YouTube and I look up music theory, and I can't find the video to this day. You know how you go on YouTube and you look up your history, your search history?
Yeah.
And you type in the keyword hoping that it still has that video that you looked up? This guy had a big magic whiteboard, and he goes, a magic marker, whiteboard, and he was like, I'm gonna explain to y'all theory. And he really broke it down to a science. But one thing that he said, which is the reason why I wanted to find the video again, is that he goes, in some songs, you're gonna notice that they don't play technically the right note in one of their parts of the song, and that's because music is a science, but it's also art, and you can't feel so confined to just the technical 7 notes in the scale. Sometimes what comes out of your heart is a little dissonance, like
yeah, I mean,
that's important too,
It's important to understand the rules so you know when and where to break them. And like there were so many times where I would play something, right, and like for instance, there's a note at the end of every scale that's like a half step instead of a whole step, and it's literally the difference between turning something that's a minor, making it like powerfully emotionally connected to like a triumphant sort of a vibe, and then turning it into like a eerie, scary kind of a vibe. And I love that note. I play it almost every time when I'm doing a lead. It's like, it doesn't matter what scale I'm in, that half step, I always do it right at the end of my line. But it doesn't always like it, and I know this walking into it. Like when I look over my shoulder to get the okay, it's like I know exactly what note he's gonna tell me he probably wants me to change. But it's that energy that I try, like, it all has a emotional connection. Every single note you play, whether it's the right one or the wrong one. If you play the wrong one, you're creating a bad feeling. Sometimes you want that bad feeling. Or
yeah, exactly.
You play a note that makes it sound like it's going to keep continuing on a loop instead of like finishing, like coming to a clear conclusion. So it kind of leaves you feeling like it never ends.
For those that are listening that are not familiar with the term dissonance, just so that y'all know, so in music, right, there's notes that sound good together and notes that don't sound as good together. The ones that sound good together, that's consonance, right? And notes that don't sound good together is dissonance. And you'll notice that whenever you watch like a scary movie or something, the score, the music in the background that's like mad suspenseful, there's dissonance all over it because it's made to make you feel uncomfortable. So there's this guy that he does movie scores. I forgot his name, and like he has the camera set up and he's explaining his thought process of like what notes he picks to create the vibe. And he played, I think it was like A, then A minor, or
A sharp.
A sharp, yeah. And then he was like, "Oh, you know what that kind of sounds like? Like a staircase."
Yeah.
And then him playing that and you picturing that, it kind of makes sense. Like, oh, it does sound like somebody creeping up a staircase to see what's up there. It's interesting. Like once you understand that part of music theory, it like opens up a whole new perspective of
Correct. I mean, a ton of the research that I end up doing on the music that I make, a lot of people just see you binge watching Netflix, but I'm practically doing all of this with a set of headphones on, and picking up when there's something about to happen. They like play only a string of notes. They don't play a song. It's just like a real quick bum 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 bum. I'm wondering like what instrument is that? Like what texture is that that's creating this suspense? I need to make more stuff with that. And it's like you figure out, oh, that's a plucked violin. They're playing it like kind of like a play would, like a Shakespearean sort of situation where they aren't talking very much, but they're moving, and the music has to keep the environment, like people interested. So they have those little tiny nuances that I listen to all of that, even in the cartoon shows. It's all relative to if you see it that way.
You say cartoon shows, man, like the Looney Tunes.
Best.
It was mostly just music. Tom and Jerry was like a musical every single episode with no.
That's why it's called Looney Tunes, spelled as tunes.
Yeah,
like as in music tunes.
Tunes.
Yeah, tunes, tunes, because it was actually to showcase the music. Well, the people fell in love with the cartoons that they ended up like switching the focus. But when it was originally thought of, it was actually more about the music.
Yeah, so it's not really a Mandela effect. At one point in time, it really was TUNES because I remember that too. But when you look it up now, it's TOONS, just to be like cartoons, you know?
I think that happened when they created the Babies. When they created the Babies, and it turned into more of like a dramatic cartoon show, and they took away a lot of the musicality to it, and sort of focused on dialogue and funny folly, you know, or Foley, or however it's pronounced.
Yeah, I think it's Foley.
Well, like cartoons, us growing up, you know, we grew up in an era where like there was a lot more musicality in the media that we consumed. You know, we watched movies that had epic soundtracks. Disney was a big thing, you know. Cartoons. I feel like we all low key was delivered into this whole world of like a broader spectrum of music, whereas now I kind of feel bad for, I don't want to say feel bad, not to sound dismissive, but these kids nowadays, they have auto-tune quantized everything, and it's very formulaic and kind of, I feel like it's very limiting.
Nothing's human.
Yeah, it's not. You know who I feel like is going to be the hottest rapper in the whole world? Someone's going to come out and just be auto-tune, you know? Like, they're just going to be like, whatever, bro. Like, the voice that you hear in auto-tune is like T-Pain times 100, you know?
We've gone to shows where it's like that.
Yeah, it's interesting, bro. I don't know, man. Like, I feel like auto-tune, man, I'm gonna sound like such a hater saying this, which I don't mind, bro. Like 45
Go ahead,
episodes,
man. Just speak your truth.
Yeah, like 45 episodes deep. After a while, you start to just not give a fuck about being politically correct, you know. But bro, auto-tune may have really destroyed the word, like the preciousness of developing your musicality, bro. You know, like people that have no business really making music on the level that it's revered at. You know, everyone can play and experiment music, but because of auto-tune, it like handicapped people. It like, you know what I'm saying, into making music, and they don't even take time to try to appreciate music theory. They just stand in front of the mic and let auto-tune do the thinking for them, you know?
See, I kind of agree with that in the way that it does create a crutch and a handicap where people are totally broken at this point, where, you know, the coming up with the ideas part is kind of like, well, I got to wait until I hear what auto-tune does with what I just recorded, you know? But at the same time, as somebody who is a great songwriter but isn't exactly the greatest singer, you know what I mean? I use auto-tune in such a way that you can't tell. And I think that is what auto-tune should have been doing since time began. And I think that was what they made it for. Its original purpose was to make it, even though they have that humanizing setting where you can change it to 0 and you sound like a robot, originally it wasn't designed that way. It was designed to make it easier for you to record ideas. But you're right, it's kind of evolved the game to a point where the ease of access has changed completely and made it a terrible environment.
Yeah, because now everyone sees rap as not. I don't want to say everyone, but it's a popular thing now for people to see rap as just a hustle. Like, fucking man, it's just a way for me to make money. Why? Because as technology progresses and accessibility is so much more available now, people will just download a crack version of auto-tune. They'll add reverb on everything, you know, and a quick little preset plugin. It sounds straight. Throw it on Lander to master it. Throw it on SoundCloud, and that's it. Now all of a sudden you're a recording artist, you know. And I don't know, bro. I kind of feel like that's the main thing that has truly oversaturated the world of music. And I'm hypocritical for saying that, because as much as I love music, who am I to say the next man doesn't love music as much as I may? You know what I'm saying? Well,
definitely what I come to realize is like, where's the money though? Where's the money that they're making off of this? Because I mean, it's still low grade music to any real consumer. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna say that the consumer hasn't degraded over time. You know, it's gotten to the point where they want more auto-tune, and we don't want to give it to them. At least like certain artists, You know what I mean? It's like I'll put something out. Like Ace had this experience recently that he was telling me about with his one of his family members. He went to a trip outside of Florida, and they were telling him, "Yeah, it sounds good, but yeah, you should definitely add some more auto tune."
That happened to you, bro?
Yeah, it wasn't a family member. It was it was one of my nephew's little homeboys in his neighborhood. It was in South Carolina, and my nephew wanted to hear one of my songs, and he was vibing to it. You know what I'm saying? My nephew was vibing to it, and he was liking it, but his friend was like, "I think it needs more auto tune," and there was already auto tune on it, but I was like, I purposely don't have it on like a T-Pain super setting. It's just there to, you know, assist the vocals. You know what I mean? It's just to correct tiny mistakes. You know what I mean? Just little imperfections that you might have, or you know what I mean?
Right. It was supposed to correct human like
Small errors.
errors. Yeah.
Not like, so you don't have to record the whole take over if you like the performance of it. You don't have to redo the whole take because, oh, I got off key in that one little spot there, and I can't just fix that one little area. And you know, so you don't want to waste the whole take. You'll just be like, I'll throw an auto tune underneath it and have it on a low setting, so it just fixes it. And it, you know what I mean? That one little note that was off, now it's, you know what I mean? It fixes that one little spot there. But for me, I don't have an issue with it. I actually appreciate it because I feel like it makes me stand out more. I think having all these artists have just one sound, you know what I mean? It's just a monolith. It's just all of them in just one direction. Just veering a little bit to the left makes you like, all of a sudden people are like, wow, what is this new thing that's happening over here on this other side? Like, this is fresh, this is new. And it's like, I'm kind of just taking ideas from when we grew up, like music that we grew up on, and people are kind of like, this is brand new, this is new. But it's like, no, I'm just incorporating different sounds that maybe you're not attuned to anymore. Like, this isn't normal to your generation maybe, but to us, we were growing up listening to all this, you know, musicians, live music. So I kind of appreciate it because I feel like I can stand out way more now in a generation of people all going in one direction. It makes it easier to just like sidestep, you know, like if everyone's standing in line and I just jump out of the line, now all of a sudden like all the attention can turn over in my direction. So, and that's not like, oh, I'm an attention seeker or a clout chaser or anything. I mean musically in the fact that I'm going to be taking more risks than I feel like people who are going to just auto-tune the shit and just, you know, tight beats. You know what I mean? I just want to, you know, 2 Chainz type beat or Future type beat or whatever, and then throw auto-tune and then, you know what I'm saying, and blows up on SoundCloud, versus me putting musicality and putting my roots into my music and, you know, different influences into my music, like rock and jazz and funk and Latin music, African music, Middle Eastern music, Asian music. People are going to be like, it's more worldly, you know what I mean? And I feel like it doesn't have to only be for American audiences, too. I think a lot of people just want to sound dope in their neighborhood or dope in what is popping in America, but they don't think that, you know, the world is huge and we're all connected now with the internet. So why think so just locally or so small? You know what I mean? Why don't expand your musical palette and just make music? That's all I'm doing. I'm not really, I'm trying to be different, or I don't dress, you know what I mean? Like, I just dress regular clothes and just make the music I want to make, and people are like, wow, he's so like, this is revolutionary. And it's like, no, it's just, if everybody's in one direction, it makes it so much easier to just be your own person, because, you know, it's like you stand out more just by being yourself nowadays. So I don't really mind it, honestly.
It's true, man. When you just when you just allow yourself to be yourself, whether you are aware of it or not, it's kind of creating this unique identity in your music. Because I remember during my growing pains, you know, everyone wants to fit in, bro. You know, like, you want to join the basketball team because you want to wear the same jersey the rest of those guys wear, and be included in that group of people that's revered by everybody else. So like, you have this again, growing pains where you want to try out how you would sound if you emulate some of this guy that's popping, and then you realize that if you mimic them, you'll only be a copy of them. But there's nothing wrong with learning how to rhyme with how Big Pun rhymed in your process of becoming a good MC, because now all the people that inspired me, like you would probably only hear them if I were to throw it at you while you're listening to it, and then you'd be like, oh, I can kind of hear that in there a little bit. Not that I'm conscientiously trying to write this song like that guy. It's because through all the years of the people that I fucked with, you know, like they just unconsciously come out, you know. Whereas I feel like nowadays people are very plainly, they're just on their sleeve being like, how you say tight beats? It's like, this is a type song, you know?
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be a fucking songwriter, and they'll sell records to this and this and that, or they'll sell their song to a bigger artist, and they're just shamelessly being like, yeah, you know, like I sound like I fit in with those guys, instead of not sounding like any of those guys. And I'd rather that. I don't want to sound like nobody, bro.
But then you got those guys that sound like nobody else, like Blueface, and these dudes who completely those are totally taking that standard in the wrong direction. You know what I mean? It's where it's like they avoid the things that make like music great. And what I mean by that is that, like, crowd movement. When you're on stage, there's nothing like seeing the whole crowd move simultaneously to your music. That's why we all do it, is to look around and see that everybody's rocking and tapping their toe at the same time, or like head bobbing or throwing their hands up at the same time. Artists like Blueface, you can't do that at a show because the pattern is totally unfollowable. The way that he writes it is trying to...
He doesn't have to be, though, to be fair to him, because the hook is the part where everybody's going to sing along to, and that's... You know what I mean? The producer or whoever's working with him just makes sure that the hooks are catchy and they can sing along to him, so he can just rap however he wants. So as long as the hook is fine, people don't really care.
Yeah, it just sucks because you think of the performance and it's like imagining it in my head. During the verses, the whole crowd is standing perfectly still until the hook comes in, and then people can finally move together.
Nah, man, because the beats are king. So the beat behind him has everybody just dancing, and he can just rap however he wants to rap. And then the hook comes, and then the whole crowd will sing along to the hook. So the beat does the work for him, to be honest.
Speaking of Blueface and rap shows, have y'all seen that article from the Miami New Times? It said Miami is still suffering from shitty rap shows, and it has a picture of Blueface.
That is funny, but no, I haven't seen that.
I remember I took a screenshot of the whole article and I posted it on my story, like each, in order. And, it's funny. Ace, and I know that Ghost, you've attended shows before you started to do your own music. Miami absolutely has a reputation of bad sound, tardiness. We were talking about this before we started. Tardiness. People show up late because they already anticipate the show's not going to get started till an hour and a half of when the flyer starts. I haven't been to a hip hop show in Miami in some time, which is weird considering how heavy I was on it at one point in time. Ace, Yeah. But what's the shows like at the moment, man?
Well, from what I've recently come to notice is that Miami has become what Ace has coined, at least the phrase recently, is the show me state. The real show me state is when you go up to the stage, nobody's trying to analyze your vibe or sort of be on your side from the start. They're kind of like neutral, but leaning the opposite way until they hear what you got. You know what I mean? And they're very detached. We've come to notice that because Miami has so much going on down here in such a tight-knit spot, that it's everything's been done, everything's been seen, so people aren't excited about it. But when you go further outside of a place like this, where everything's way more separate, like even if you go up to Broward, everything's kind of a further drive. So when the people come out to see the acts, they're looking to party. They're looking to enjoy themselves.
Yeah, that's kind of like the con of living in a city like Miami, where it's like there's so much to do and there's like so many things besides where you're at right now, where you be like, oh, there's a party happening over here. Oh, we can go to the club, go to the bar down here. Let's go to Collins Ave. Like, there's just so much that you can get into here that people don't really appreciate. You know what I mean? Like a show, like
partying's a full-time job.
Yeah, like in other cities where maybe they don't have as much entertainment. That's their whole entertainment, is going out to see a local show and, you know what I mean, appreciating the music. So in Miami, there's almost like a standoffishness. As soon as you're on stage, they're already like ready to be like, this is whack. Like, that's their first instinct.
We should throw a show that's like a haunted house that you walk through, where there's only one way in and the only way to get out is on the way other side of it. So people walk into the entrance and it's just a bunch of rooms of different people rapping, and they're forced to kind of stand there for a minute before the next door opens, and then they walk through.
That's
a creepy
really
hallway.
scary.
You know what I'm saying? And then when they finally get to the last room, it's the headlining act, and then they're like, "Did y'all enjoy the show or what?" And everyone just like cheers because they really want to get out of there.
Let me out of here.
And then you get that on video so you can like make it seem like you're popping.
Also, man, there's a lot of just piggybacks, you know what I mean? Copycats. Everybody just wants to sound like the times, you know what I mean? Like, just put yourself in a time capsule and sound like right now. But if you sound like right now, you never sound like later. You know what I mean? You're gonna confine yourself to just sounding like the moment, that you're never gonna be able to function in the future.
You're getting trapped in a niche.
Yeah, exactly. Eventually the sound is gonna change, and you're so stuck trying to sound like what everyone else is doing. I mean, I've seen it at shows where a guy goes up and he's doing something that sounds exactly what's on radio, and the crowd is just like whatever about it, because it's like, I have that on my phone right now. I can listen to exactly what you're doing right now. Just pull up a playlist on Spotify and hear a dozen artists doing exactly what you're doing right now. So what's the point?
And it was recorded on better equipment, mixed and mastered better as well.
Yeah, and then you have the opposite side. There are people that are so stuck in the past that they want to sound like an era that's gone. You know what I mean? They're just so trying to stick to a boom bap era, or you know what I mean? And they're just holding on to it so tightly that they don't want to like evolve that sound. Like, maybe use it as your foundation, but also move it forward as well. Push it in a new direction that the guys that influenced you didn't go in. You know what I'm saying? So those are the two factions that I see at shows. Either someone that sounds like a relic, or people that just sound exactly like what other people are doing on radio, or just there's no original artist. And I was like, I feel for the crowd sometimes. I'm like, sometimes I'm on their side. I'm like, yeah, if I'm in the crowd too, being like, my mind is like just melting from like watching all these acts go on stage, and it's like there's nothing entertaining about what this person is doing. They literally just have the beat going, not even just the beat, so they have the whole song playing, and they're just rapping on top of their song with their vocals already on it and everything. And it's like, why not just stand there silently and let me listen to your song? Because you're not putting on a performance.
You don't think that like rapping over the song is a result of bad sound?
I think it's part of it.
It's literally my reason for doing it. I mean, look, I grew up listening to Hi Guys and My Third Leg, and the guys would tell me how much it is not cool to rap over a fully mixed track, because it's like you're lip syncing almost. But if you cannot get the DJ to make you sound decent, what's the point of even performing? So at least with me, because I'm my own engineer, my own mix engineer, like, I go out there knowing that it's going to sound great, even if my mic is not working.
But sometimes people have a tendency, when their vocals are playing, they yell over them because they can't. Humans have this tendency, we want to hear ourselves, especially when we're like performing, or you know what I mean. So they end up just yelling over their vocal track because they can't hear themselves, because they're, you know what I mean, the song's playing like blaring loud, and we don't have in-ear microphones, headphones, like professional people
or stage monitors.
The stage monitors. So they're just, I can't hear myself, so I gotta yell, even though it's like everyone else in the crowd can hear them clearly, and it's just like a guy yelling over his pre-recorded track and stuff like that.
And as much as that is like what people think it's a crutch, it's just as much as a detriment to you if you didn't practice your stuff, because you aren't going to be able to keep up with this perfect recording that you have set up for yourself. So if you know your stuff, your performance is going to sound good if you practice. And
people you end up not sounding like the recording. Like, you don't even sound like the same person who's on the recording. Like, I've heard someone on the recording, their voice is higher pitched, but then when they perform live, they're like rapping a lower pitch, and I was like, that's really strange. Like, you don't like work on it to like sound exactly like the way you do in the booth, or
the opposite, like Big Sean, when he does that really low registry on his tracks live, he's really projecting his voice on top of that. So you have like song version and concert version of the same guy, and sometimes it's a little hard. It's like, really, this is the way you sound live. Whereas like someone like a Snoop Dogg sounds that Snoop wherever, bro.
Exactly.
You know, he probably like when he's on the phone, it sounds exactly like how he is on a record, because that's his. Or Evidence. Evidence is another good example of an artist that has mastered his tone live or in the studio.
Yeah, and you know, there's a lot of things down south that we pick up on down here in Miami. And another thing that I've noticed too about the shows that's probably the biggest problem is the fact that there's no follow through for the artist to generate either a living or something to perpetuate them onto their next project. It's like they put together these shows with no intention of selling any physical copies. They don't come out with any sort of merchandise that they can try and flip. And it's like, you're not going to get, it's not about getting a deal, guys. Like, you're not going to get a deal until you start earning enough money to put yourself in a position to be seen in that light. You know what I mean? And I'm not judging anybody because I'm in the same boat right now. I only have 3 singles out currently. So I haven't gotten to the situation where I have merchandise to fully sell. Once I do my album release, that is the goal. It isn't to show people my music. It has very little to do with that. It has more to do with coming with everything locked and loaded and ready for them to support me.
Oh, speaking of that, my bad, Ace, to interrupt or to cut in, but yo, a homie of mine that's a vlogger on YouTube used our song "What's Next" on a vlog that he just put out, man.
That's dope, man. I love getting our music everywhere we can, especially through the vlogger sites and the underground rap stations. You know what I mean? That's a big part of the life down here.
Isn't it interesting how the way that people get their music out now is, we used to holler at DJs to put it on their mixtapes or on their radio shows. Now we holler at curators for their playlists and vloggers for their vlogs. Like, that's the placement today, you know?
People really moved into the YouTube world.
Well, what are your thoughts on rappers adopting other types of media to funnel the music? This is a perfect example. I got this podcast, bro. But this podcast is to let the listeners get to know not only myself, but the guest as a person, so that they can go back and fuck with their music if they like the way you carry yourself on.
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
That's the point. I mean, there's a disconnect between the artist and their content and their fans. You don't actually know the artist at all as a person. You know what they want you to know about them. So it's great to kind of get the guards down. It's all off the top. None of this is scripted. This is completely organic. That's what the artist is. So that's how you get a real connection with these guys.
I think any way that you can put your music out there, I won't ever knock anyone's hustle on that. You know what I mean? Because it was always a hustle. It was always a way in that you would have to try to do. So this is just a new way of having to try to do it. So
plus it's duplicate, like not duplicating, but exponentially building your fan base in different areas so that they all come back to the same place. It's all a tapestry leading to the same main focus, which is your content.
Do you think do you want people to rock with your music more or rock with you more?
Honestly, it's the music more than you, because they don't know you and you don't know them. You make music for you, but that's why you want your fans to like the music.
Yeah, there's artists that are more like personalities. You know what I mean? People check for them more for their personality than like see them more as then there's artists that are more seen as musicians, and that's how I've always seen myself more as that. I've always been kind of more of a background kind of a person. Even performing, you wouldn't know that about me because I was always raucous on stage. But I like being the producer. I was a drummer. Drummers in the back of the stage, we're always placed in the back. Don't get the attention. The guitar player and even the bass player, they're in the front. So they get to interact with the crowd. Me, my only interaction is what I do musically. So I always love that, though, because I feel like you're appreciating what I'm doing versus, I just like him, or, you know what I mean? It's what all this effort and practice and focus and blood, sweat, and tears that I put into what I'm playing, you know, that's what I want you to focus on.
That's what I want you to know about me.
Yeah, exactly. And
all the other bad stuff, I keep that to myself.
Yeah, it's tricky because the more popular that your music gets, the more demand there is for them to connect with you, especially with social media. But
social media is a nightmare.
It opens up this whole can of worms. Like, look, man, as much as I appreciate that you enjoy my music, like I'm a fucked up person sometimes, bro. I'm in a bad mood sometimes, or I had a bad day and or I'm having a great day but I'm in a rush or something, and all of a sudden my imperfect life contaminates your perception of my music, you know? It's I mean, mind you, I'm not trying to make it seem like every time a fan hits me up or whatever it's like a fucked up experience, but there have been a couple times that, bro, I'll be in Wynwood and somebody will cross paths with me and be like, yo, you're Art. Oh shit, what's up, man? Blah, 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 blah. And I'll be like, damn, that's what's up, bro. And then after a couple minutes of chatting, like, I want to go because I was on my way somewhere, and they may perceive that as, yo, this guy doesn't, and that's totally not the case at all. You know, I was like, damn, my bad, bro. I had to go somewhere, and I stopped what I was doing because I didn't want you to think that I'm brushing you off. So my bad. My music is still good to you. Just allow me to be on my way. You know, it's a little tricky. You know, like
the fans expect you to give everything. You know what I mean? I don't. Luckily, all my fans are artists more than diehard music fans. So it's a little bit of a different vibe. They kind of all want to work with me and collab, and that's kind of a scary thing too, because you know it's like you're talking about there's nothing against the music that certain people make, but it's not a world I want to be in, as far as like a realm that I want my music to be in. But that's okay. That's not a negative thing at all. It just means that I got no place being rocking with you on stage or in your song.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, like, I'm not a people person. You might have seen it, you know, after shows or whatever. But I think for me, I kind of benefit from the fact that I was in a group, so I allowed them to be, you know, center stage for, like, you know, personality wise, and just let me be a musician. But when I became a solo artist, I realized, you know what, man, this is just who I am. So when I perform, I don't do the whole crowd work thing that, like, you know, most people like to be crowd work and talk and do a whole spiel before they perform their set. I go up to the DJ and I go, let's run it. And I just do the songs, and then the song's over. You know, I might say, you know, I'm Acey, maybe give my info. Sometimes not even. I might have cards that I might, you know, if you want to know more about me, you can come up to me and I'll give you the information. I'd rather you come up and talk to me, because then I know you want to actually interact. You actually felt what I was doing, rather than me being like looking around and being like, you know, let me talk to people. Or I'd rather you engage with me, and then I can see that you actually felt what I was doing. But people, you know, respond, because I try to put on the best show I possibly can. And I try to be as energetic and like really perform, like an actual performance. That's why I don't talk, because I want them to be. It's almost like if at a play, you're not really interacting with the actors. You're just there to watch them put on the show, and then afterwards you clap and maybe you talk to the actors. You see them out in the street or whatever. That's kind of what I do, and people do that. They come up and they talk to me like, man, that thing you did there, or that song, that's crazy. Who produced that? And I'm like, oh yeah, I made the beat or whatever. And then people like, oh, word, and you know what I'm saying? So for me, that's kind of the performer I am. I'd rather be like that, where it's not about my personality. You're not really trying to get to know me personally. You're more interested in the art form. So I perform as an artist. You know what I mean? I take away the whole, oh, this is me, you're getting to know me. It's no, you're getting to watch a performance. You know what I'm saying? And you can vibe to the music.
Yeah, it's like you want the audience to be like, look, I know you're watching me and I'm a human being on stage doing something, but try to remove me from what you're watching, you know? Like try
Use
to
your ears.
Yeah, like if I have to do a cardboard cutout of me for future shows to convey my point, that's what I'll do. Like That's why artists have a back room that when they finish the set, they exit stage left and go back where they have a degree of separation between them and the audience, because, and also it kind of destroys the allure. There's an allure between you and, if I see Eminem on stage and then when he's done, he just walks through the crowd.
Yeah.
That's like, what are you doing? Yo, come on.
That sucks about local shows, is that after I'm done, I kind of want to like disappear into the night to kind of make it more of like, wow, who was that? And make people want to check for me, rather than like I get off stage and all of a sudden I have to awkwardly walk through the crowd and like, you know.
I think it would be dope if they had like a venue where the stage had like a slowly dropping like trap door. So like right as you finish your set, you strike a pose like you were being dropped in a vat of like like the crystal stuff or whatever.
like the fair where you hit the target and the guy dunks into the pool.
Yeah, but like on some slow mo shit, it's like, I'm Acey's, good night. And then it slowly drops.
Dude, I would love that, man.
Like how Batman had
That's what I was
the
talking
balls
about.
that he throws in the ground.
Ninja Vanish, that would be dope. Like at the end of my set, I'm Acey's, good night, and then all the lights cut out, right? And then you're like, well, what happened? And then the lights come back on, and I'm just gone. And you're like, everybody's like, yo, where'd he go? And like,
That's
I would
funny.
love that, man.
Yeah, it's true, man. Like I remember when I would throw mad shows, bro, and it's true. It's mad awkward because you'll finish this performance that you put on, you rehearse for a long time for the audience, and then when it's done, you know, you get off stage, you walk through everybody, you get your little daps here and there, and then there's always that one guy that pulls you to the side and tries to put his arm around you and then give you, yo, dog, that one song you did, I gotta tell you, yo, take my number, son. Let's work. And you're just there like, bruh.
You didn't even give me any critique. You just gave me your number.
It's like,
you insulted me. And
who are you?
And you don't, I feel like not having that separation too, the people don't feel like, oh, that's where the stigma local rappers, you know what I mean? Because you're not even allowed to be, you know, like an artist, you know what I'm saying? Because if you can walk through the crowd, I was like, he's just like us. You know what I'm saying? Like immediately, no matter how I just performed, you know what I mean? I might have took you, maybe you're like, oh, Ace just took me to a different place with his music. And all of a sudden I'm just start walking through and it's just like a regular dude walking through the crowd. It takes away that whole mystery, that whole...
It feels more like show and tell.
Yeah, man.
You know?
It's, you kind of want that. I want to create that mystery. So sometimes I literally, when after a show, I know all these people want to dap me up and I just keep walking. And I'd rather them just be thinking I'm an asshole just for that split second. But just to get away, because it's like, yo, I go into such a place performance-wise, it is just like, yo, give me a second to like get out of that. Like, give me a chance to snap out of that performer, and then I can go back to just being a regular dude and then interact with people.
It's like that SpongeBob meme, like, I'm going to head out.
Yeah. I remember it was funny, though. The opposite happened at one show where I performed the song Chico that I have, and the crowd was like, going crazy for it. They were like, yo, what is this new thing? So I remember getting off stage and nobody was coming up to me, and I almost like got offended a little bit because it was the first time that like people just kind of like ignored me after a performance. I was like, damn, what was up? And then later on, Julio Divine, who was on the song, he comes up to me. He was like, yo, they were telling me they were intimidated to come talk to you after you performed. Like, that's why they weren't coming up to you. They were like, yo, who is that? Like, you know what I mean? These were younger kids than me. So they had never seen, you know, the whole Geek Squad, anything that I had done prior. This was the first time seeing me. So to them, I did have that little, you know, that mystery, that enigma. Like, I've never seen this guy before. And like, you know what I mean? And I came up on stage and had the character, the charisma, you know what I'm saying? And they were just like, who is this guy? So then when I get off, they were like, they didn't even want to talk to me because it was like, I don't even know what to say to him. And I thought that, you know, that tripped me out because I never thought I would ever have that. You know, it's something I'm, you know, striving for, obviously, as an artist, to have that effect, that people like admire you for the music that you're making and the artistry and the performance. So it was trippy to have that happen in the local scene where for a long time I hadn't experienced that for a minute. So that's what I'm really chasing after, is that thing where it's just like, whoa, he just did something I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, I mean, but circling back to what you were saying about the sound of like the shows and stuff, is the sound of the shows has gotten so bad down here that it's become painfully aware after talking to you from the first podcast. You were telling me about getting your equipment together to start throwing your own shows. That is what needs to happen for every artist. It's past you have to find out whether you're gonna put up or shut up. You can go around and blame the venues as much as you want for your sound not being where it needs to be, or you can get the material and learn how to do it yourself so that you have nobody else responsible for your stuff but you. If every artist did that, the entire stigma would change.
And since then, since our last podcast, I did do it, man. I came up on the PA system. This crate with like, look, I just shook it around for the mic. I have this, it's like a Pelican case, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's like 12 mics that come in here, and XLR cables and everything. I'm ready to put on my own show, and really, that's a great way to make money. Up and coming artists for the rest of your career. I can rent out a venue, an intimate show venue. Sometimes you don't want to. There's shows where you want to perform at a festival in front of 10,000 people, but there's also like J. Cole's an artist that I give props to, because as big as he is, he will still rent out a venue for 200 people, and charge whatever he charges and just performs for them, and that intimacy creates more of a moment. And
plus, money making is way better when you do it that way. You're completely you pay. Your expenses consist of the equipment, which is a one-time thing,
right?
And then after that, you pay the rent for the venue,
right.
And that is your bottom line.
No, it's not just the rent. I want
vendors too.
Rent. You got to pay a guy to tend to your merch table. You got to pay for security. There are expenses, but your overhead is much lower
if you have all the equipment.
Right,
it's much lower, and then you don't have to. If you're DJing it or you're hosting the event, that's one more expense you don't have to worry about. And if you're an artist, you're already paying for play anyways. So what is the difference? The difference is you're not making any money. That's the difference.
Well, I feel like artists are definitely becoming more hip to being self-sufficient, and they're investing in themselves, which is why, I'm not sponsored by this website, but man, I give a lot of shout outs to like Zounds.com.
All my stuff I bought from there too.
Right,
every single thing.
I remember when I put you on to Zounds, bro.
I've already spent like $3,000 worth of stuff.
Bro, they let you do monthly payments on your gear. And like, God bless them, because bro, like, I've come up on gear that otherwise it would have taken me a couple years to be able to afford to get in total. And since then, your sense of like, you feel so much more like an entrepreneur when you come up on all this gear. Someone that wants to start a clothing line, they first outsource to a shirt printer, and then they look at those machines in the back work, and they're like, man, I wonder how much it costs for my own embroidery machine, or my own screen printer. And then they go on Amazon and realize it's actually mad cheap, and then that's it, bro. They start doing it themselves. But the downside is that time is money too, and that shit takes time out of your day to make, which is why these companies exist, where you can just hit them up and they take all day to do it. And you make less money, but you have more time to do other things. And that's that battle that we kind of fuck with,
The way to do it is kind of outsource when you need to. When you're overflowing in work and, you just can't cover it, then you spend the extra dollar that one time to give you peace of mind. Instead of dedicating your entire business to one place or one idea, you kind of use that to fuel, to keep you self-sufficient. You know what I mean? Because as a studio, like I want that to be kind of the basis for my studio. Is like, I do a lot of beats, but I work with a ton of producers, so there's enough of a portfolio where you can go in and check out different varieties of stuff and kind of be able to pick and choose. But it's not all my work, and it's not all my stress. Like, it's equal partnership, and that's how it needs to work. If I'm doing it all myself, it's not going to be as good as if I have a network.
That's true, man, because that is the downside to investing in yourself all the way, because you end up alienating yourself, man. Like, if you know how to play every instrument, like, what's the point of starting a band? You're going to be like that guy that has the neck brace with the harmonicas in front of his mouth.
Yeah,
Bob Dylan.
I kind of got to that place. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like sometimes too self-sufficient because I mean, even when I started rapping, I was like, I needed beats. The first thing I thought of was, oh, I got to make my own beats. So that's why I started producing. Was just like, oh, if I'm a rapper, I need beats. I didn't want random instrumentals. I didn't even think that thought didn't even cross my mind. I was like, I need my own beats. So I just started making my own beats and my artwork for all my projects. I've done the artwork for my projects myself. Learned Photoshop and you know what I mean, and just thugged it out myself and
It's that concept of ownership.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Feeling like you own this 100% full and clear, and you don't have to share it with anybody that isn't involved, and you don't owe nobody nothing as far as like if it goes somewhere, you don't have to look over your shoulder wondering if it's all going to get ripped out from underneath you. Not that, Ace has told me about situations where he's heard beats he's made be either remade or, totally ripped off and end up on somebody's record who's really popping. And it's like, that's how.
You want to tell that story, or would you rather not? Because I've heard remnants of this story, and I'm not gonna front. It's a pretty fucking cool story, even though it's not much of a brag. But still, man, I mean, I feel like the people would find interest in this. I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to. I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but
nah, I mean, I'm probably gonna have to tell this story multiple times, anyways. So, you know what I mean. Once people get wind of it, and if I, not let me stop saying if. When I'm popping, you know what I'm saying? When I'm in the industry, people might ask about it anyways because they might find out about it. But back in the day, Childish Gambino was, before he was what he is now, you know what I mean? He was putting out mixtapes, just small mixtapes. And he was known more for comedy and acting and TV shows like Community and stuff like that. So that's where he was really known. But me and my brother had heard his mixtapes and we're like, yo, this dude is dope, man. We should try to work with him. So one day he put out a tweet that my brother saw. He's like, I'm looking for beats for my next project. The project would end up being Cul-de-sac. And so my brother just sent him my links. And on my links, it had my phone number and everything. Like, all, you know what I'm saying? It just had all my information. But it had a thing where you could listen to my beats. So you can listen to my beats, and if you like my beats, you can contact me. So one day, I'm just chilling at the crib, and I get this phone call from, like, a strange number. So I pick up the phone, and I'm like, yo, who's this? He goes, it's Donald. Is Alexis there? And I'm like, this nigga's using my government name? Like, who the fuck is this? I'm thinking it's like a government call or some shit, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, who's this? Donald. And it took me a second to think about Donald. Oh, shit, Childish? And he's like, yeah. He started laughing. And I was like, oh, what's up, man? He's like, yo, I like the beats you were making, dog. And I'm like, oh, that's what's up, man. He's like, yeah, I'm working on this project, and I'm looking for some fresh beats, man. You think you can help me out with that? I was like, yeah, for sure. So we just started talking back and forth. And the dumb thing that I did, because I was mad young at the time, I was like 19, 20 years old. He was like, what compensation would you want for it? And at the time, I was so hungry, and I just was like a fan of what he was doing. He wasn't even anything yet, but I still wanted to like work with him. So I was like, nah, man, like I just want credit. I just want my name. Just say produced by Acey. That's literally all I want. I don't, no compensation. So he was like, oh, word. So I started sending him beats and email, going back and forth and stuff like that. And one day I sent him this hard beat, and he just like, yo, that beat is nuts, man. And I was like, thanks, bro. And he's like, yeah, for sure. I might use that one. And you've heard this beat because we ended up using it in Geek Squad. It was called The Other Guys.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Damn, crazy backstory to that song.
Yeah, so I'm gonna keep it factual. I'm gonna keep it 100 because I still got the emails. So if niggas want to fact check me or try to conflict with me, I got the, you know what I mean? I got the proof or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Wherever you want to take it, I have the facts to back it up. And the emails that shows which beats I sent and everything. So that's, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, he radio silence after that. I try emailing him, try to talk to him. I don't hear nothing from this dude. I can't get in contact with him for nothing. So then the album comes out, Cul-de-sac, and I'm listening to it, and it's like I think it's like track number 2 or number 3, and all of a sudden I hear these horns that reminds me of my beat, and I was just like, but I was like, oh, it's kind of different, so I'm not thinking nothing of it. But then the beat kicks in, and like the drum pattern and everything has the same pattern, and it's like, yo, am I just tripping, or is this like kind of like my beat? And there's even like a musical phrase in the beat that ended up on the project that's like a note for note phrase that's in the beat that I made. So I'm just like, yo, I think he just had his producer use this as maybe an idea, but like, oh, can you make me something like this? And then his producer went Oscar-winning producer now, you know what I mean, for Black Panther. But I think he had him go and like try to recreate, you know what I mean, put your own spin on this type of beat, but it's like the same tempo. That's another thing that I was like, I can't even try to separate it, because tempo-wise, the way that the drum is patterned is almost an exact, like even like the style of the drums. He's not even like a switch of like the type of drums used, you know what I mean? So I was just like, damn, but I can't do nothing about it because I use the sample in my beat. So I don't even own, you know what I mean? I don't even have ownership of it. I can't even be like, oh, I can sue them for using my beat because I took a sample. So I didn't have legal ownership over that anyways in the first place. So I just had to take the L, you know what I mean? And just be like, it sucks. I took it as kind of a positive too, because I was like, damn, I was doing something so good that these talented people wanted to even copy what I was doing, and I'm only 19, 20 years old. You know what I'm saying? I must be doing something right. The fact that they wanted to even, you know, mess with my music like that. So I just took the L, took it on the chin, never talked about it. You know
Until now.
Until now, yeah. I just kept it to myself, and I'm still a fan of his music. You know what I mean? I don't know him personally. That's the thing. That's how you can't take something personal if you don't really. I don't know him like that, so I never took it personal, like, oh, he was trying to fuck me over or anything like that. So I just kept it moving. I was like, fuck it, man. I'll get my shot.
You know, this is the reason why I don't like signing up for like ghostwriting sessions. I've been offered. I was in one session at Circle House that I was invited to years ago, man. I mean, I'm not gonna say with who it was or whatever, but bro, I remember thinking to myself, like, there's no paperwork behind my time here. There's no documentation towards like the ideas that I shot out or nothing. You know, like yeah. I can sit here and throw all these ideas at you, and who's to say that you took the first half of this one idea and ran with that, and that sparked this whole idea for this other song. I just never understood the concept of that. So I remember after that day, after that, I haven't been invited to any of from the same group of people, because obviously I felt like I was kind of playing myself. People are going to try to act like that mentality is not the right mentality to have. Oh, that's why you're not going to make it nowhere in the songwriting game. But it's like, bro, my time is valuable. My ideas are valuable as well. And, you know, this industry is mad shady, bro. I don't want to have to start walking around with a field recorder or Zoom H6 and place it right in front of me and be like, all right, let's work, but everything's on audio. You know, if I want to really go there, that's crazy, bro. Who's going to do that, you know?
Yeah, that's what I learned from it. Like, ever since then, I knew that if I'm going to work with someone on an official basis, there has to be a paperwork exchange. Even if I'm going to give them the beat for free, it still has to be in writing that I produced it and I still receive my credit for what I did. You know what I mean? Because I was like, I get nothing from this. Like, only can tell a few people, like, oh, that beat that Childish did, because that record didn't even pop. That's the reason why I can't even complain about it, because it wasn't like, oh, he blew up after Cul-de-sac came out. It wasn't that project that blew him up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the guy that produced the beat, you said won a Grammy for an Oscar for the Black Panther.
Yeah, he did the score for the movie.
And
Black
you're wearing
Panther.
a Black Panther shirt right now. And it's like, damn, bro, like, you know,
it's not Black Panther's fault. I love Black Panther. He ain't do nothing to me.
That's funny.
But I mean, even the guy, it wasn't him who did anything to me personally, because he probably doesn't even know where the beat came from. He might have just been like, oh, I got this off YouTube, or I I have no idea what happened that made him stop talking to me, that made him go around me and like recreate the beat. I have no idea.
There's so many puns in my head that I'm thinking right now of like, if you were to ever approach them, you just hit them like, that's very childish, Gambino. And then he writes back to you saying, well, this is America. Or it's just mad like corny ass puns just resulting in you're never going to get your credit for this lesson that you learned, you know? But that's the music industry, bro. Like you stick your neck out there, they take advantage of you.
It's funny that you mentioned This Is America because he was accused of that beat not being bought properly either.
And also, did you ever hear about that story about Pharrell getting sued because he had a similar musical phrase to another song?
Yeah, that was Blurred Lines. Blurred Lines was a complete mishap in the court case because of the fact that they had it in Miami. This is, if you go to college for music, they tell you, as far as legal proceedings go, if you're going to have an argument over copyright, you do it in a place where the judges are fully versed in this law. Where would that be? Where country music was born. If you go out there, those judges have been doing copyright law since their very first case. You know, like there isn't a day that goes by where some country singer isn't saying that their cousin stole their line and that they need to dispute over who came up with it first. And then they sit there and identify each part of each bar and figure out who took what. This kind of legal proceedings.
What a fucking nightmare, bro.
Yeah, but you need those guys. You need those guys. And then they did the case in Miami for Blurred Lines, and the judge heard it. And then they play the sample. This is a thing. Let's be very specific. It was not sampled. It was completely originally played, but it was played in a similar music style. They played the song that they said the sample came from. It didn't have any of the same notes. It was played in a different tempo. There was literally no audio. A different key. There was literally no audio that could be considered a part of the original audio recording in their song.
But it's like you can't own a musical scale,
that's
bro.
What I was gonna say.
Or a style.
You can't own a style either.
You can't,
because that's
bro.
like every blues musician like suing anyone who plays a blues song, like a lick that they play. You know what I mean? Like
you can copyright something if it has a certain amount of notes. There's a certain number of notes that you have to play, and a scale doesn't have that. That's why scales and chord progressions.
You can't sue over chord progressions or style. Mm-hmm. So what happened was that they were influenced by a Marvin Gaye song. Mm-hmm. So they used kind of like the same drum pattern and the same like they have like some whoops in the background, like woo, right, and like in between the percussion. So that's what they were inspired by, and they put it in their song. But the Marvin Gaye song is written in a major key, and Blurred Lines is written in a minor key. So they're completely different from each other, even though they have the same vibe and feel, but like they go in different directions. You know what I mean? One is like a happy key, major key, or is known more for sounding like happier, peppier. Minor is like a little darker, a little more edge to it, which is what they wanted to do because Blurred Line is more of a sexual song. Marvin Gaye's song is more like about having a good time at a party. And Blurred Lines is like trying to be sexy, so they wanted minor keys, which are darker, more mysterious, whatever. So they're not in the same key. So how could they be a copy of each other? Like, how could you copy something that's in a completely different key?
So then the judge heard it and was just like, "Yeah, that sounds exactly like it," and you took that. That's not how it works.
And Robin Thicke, who's the singer on the song, he brought a keyboard and showed the judge. He's like, listen, these are the chords in Marvin Gaye song. Plays them. It's in a major key. These are my chords for Blurred Line. He played it. It's in a minor key. Like, show him, like, look, they're different chords. They're not the same chords. And the judge still was like, no, it's too similar.
The judge just looks at him and goes,
I have no idea what you just said.
Get this guy out of here.
That's literally the problem, is that the judge has no idea what this guy said. That's the textbook reason why it failed. This isn't.
Yo, I can imagine the judge being like, yeah, that's a no from me, dog. Like,
like Randy Jackson.
He just Randy Jackson's them. Yeah. That's funny, bro. Look, man, like this makes sense. This kind of gives me a new perspective of why certain artists, like, for example, Currency, right? Currency from New Orleans. Currency puts out free projects that have samples all over it. Doesn't charge for the download. He puts the music out for free, and a lot of it, but he tours all the time and sells mad merch. So
merchandise.
He's monetizing his likeness through his music by other means, which is the live performance of it,
and generating a viewership to continually perpetuate the money.
Damn, that's actually a pretty fucking good idea.
That's what Chance I think is doing too. With his free dynamic is the same
he just,
concept.
For the first time, put out like a legitimate project, and that didn't do too well. I feel like the old model was working. He should have kind of stuck to the whole free. We do it. You know,
it's a lot of work. That's the other issue that it comes down to. A lot of these artists aren't ready to go out and do the full merchandise flipping. It's virtually like drug dealing. It's literally what you need to think of it like. If you're really gonna do this for a living, you need to be like, this is my flip. You feel me? I gotta go and re-up on some T-shirts. You feel me? Because next week I'm gonna sell them all out. You really need to be on point about scheduling that kind of stuff and keeping an eye on how much it all costs.
Another game, like another thing, like you could do as well. I feel like the new hustle, instead of putting out like a full project, you're like, oh, I want people to hear the whole album and like all this stuff. EPs, put out 4 songs, 5 songs, give them that little tidbit, leave them wanting more for the, you know what I mean? Just consistently put out EPs, maybe every 2 months or every month if you want to. If you're making that much music, just put out these 4 songs, little projects, and you have people like, damn, every time he puts out something, that's my vibe for that whole month. You know what I mean? And the next month they're already checking back in with you again for like, oh, what's the next one? You know what I'm saying? Instead of like, sometimes people see the full length, especially if you're not already established. They're like, I don't want to listen to that. Like, it's 15 songs. Like, I don't got time for that. So you put out these little, small little snack bites, and then eventually you could build up towards a full length. You know what I mean? And
I mean, hopefully by the time that the artist builds up to drop a full length project, that they still have the same hunger, they can drop a quality 15-track project that's as good as when they first came out. You know how it is with the stigma. Like, when the artist comes out, their first project is considered the best one. And then after that, people start to kind of fall off a little bit because they don't feel like it's as good as when they first came out. So if you're going to come out with 10 years worth of free music, and then when you finally drop your first album, you're washed already. I mean, I don't want to say that's going to happen to a lot of people, but I know a lot of artists that, by the time they finally drop their official project, it's like lackluster. Because
another thing that it comes down to is the time frame that you're taking to put out this material. Your crowd is not going to stick around waiting for you to put out that next project. As much as they love you, they just have too much going on. They need to connect with you on a semi-daily basis, not on a daily every single day, but they need to be thinking about you and your product on a weekly basis. I mean, you want them to continue. See, we started working with Ivan, and what I love about that guy is he has so much content that I think that his money making comes from generating listeners, like monthly listeners, and streaming. When you make that much material, actually starts to pay out a little bit. You know what I mean? It's not a lot, but he's got projects dropping every couple months, and because of that, the crowd constantly wants to come to his events too, because it's always like they're coming to see a new show.
Yeah, word. I mean, streaming is a whole other monster, bro. Like, I have some ideas of ways to kind of like work around streaming services based on their payout, but I don't know, man. We're all just trying to figure it out, bro.
Yeah, 100%.
I've noticed that the consistent thing of all these episodes is that none of us have truly made it yet at this point, as of now. And it's just a lot of like brainstorming sessions of how to make it. And really, the people that I admire as far as how they work is something that we mentioned in the beginning of this podcast, which is doing out-of-town shows in smaller towns, because how Miami is, there's so much going on. Bro, a guy that everyone should kind of study when it comes to how to tour is Tech 9, bro.
Tech 9.
The master.
Tech 9 did, you have major cities, and then you have a bunch of small towns in between, and you invest in your merch production early on so that you go stocked up with all this different merch, and, you have the big shows, but your profit margin on the big shows, there's a lot more overhead because it's a bigger production, bigger venues, bigger everything, whereas small shows, you have a little dive bar here and there, but there's nothing to do in those towns, so everyone comes out. I remember when I was in North California, a flyer would come out of some show, and I had no idea who the guy was that was performing. Even the picture on the flyer was not a photo shoot picture. It was just some pixelated smartphone looking picture, whatever. Such and such guy performing live, $25 to get in. And you're thinking, who is this guy to charge? Who is this? You know? But there's nothing to do up there. And everyone goes out and that place is packed, you know? Like, wow, the less that there is to do, the more willingness there is for people to attend something. And that is something that Tech Nine did early on, Rhyme Sayers did early on. And I encourage people, man, to like go to Office Depot or something or on Amazon, print out a big map of a state that has every single little, everything, every little road, every little town, city, whatever, and just take a bunch of little pins and be like, all right, I'm going to holler at this person. I'm going to Google this town and see what's popping there and try to do something there and create a little, you know?
That's what what Ivan was saying at the show last night is like, you shouldn't be afraid to ask these venues. Like the worst thing that they can say is no. And you ask to run an event there and all you have to do is split the fee for the door. And most of them are like, shit, free money. You know what I mean? It's just people are afraid of rejection. This is not the business to be in if you're afraid of rejection.
Yeah, 100%. And another thing I said earlier too, what Tech Nine did as well was that he's a show. When you go to see Tech Nine, it's not just a guy rapping. Like back in the day, he had the whole face paint, and it was something that visually people would be like, already like, what is this? This is different. You know what I mean? But that was a part of it. It was like, oh, I'm going to give you an experience. So every time you go to my show, you're getting a new, you know what I'm saying? You're getting an experience, which artists I feel like don't take the time to do is like work on their craft. It's the guy who honed his craft and like perfected it and put the time in on it so that when he performed, it wasn't just, oh, I'm going to make the money for that night. No, every time I come back, people want to see me. That's what you have to do as well. I remember I performed in LA and I was so nervous because I never performed out of town before. And it was a little coffee shop, you know what I mean, on the USC campus. And it was an open mic. So I just signed up for it. And I remember my brother King, he was like, I'm just gonna sit in the back quiet. You know what I mean? So basically he was telling me, any cheers or anything response you get, you have to earn it, because I'm not gonna give you a pity clap or nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like testing me, like, nigga, if you gonna perform, you gotta earn it. So I was like, all right. So I already had that battery in my back too. And I was watching the other performers on stage. There was people, you know, playing guitar, playing piano, singing. And then some rappers came on, and I was just like, you know, like, I hate to be that guy, but I was like, they had no business. You know, they're not ready yet to be. But this is practice too, so I understand where they're coming from. But anyways, I get up on stage, and I didn't even know if I wanted to say I was from Miami, because I was like, I don't know how LA will feel about me even, you know what I'm saying? But I said, you know what? My songs are about where I'm from anyways. They're going to hear it, so fuck it. So I just got up on stage confident and just be like, yo, my name is Acey from Miami. And when I said Miami, people just like, woo, Miami. I was like, damn, what the fuck? So I started doing my songs, and people went fucking crazy. It was the best response I've ever got as a solo artist. Was in LA. It's like as far away as I can get from my hometown. These people were showing me more love than as a solo artist that I ever got back home. Mm-hmm. And it was the fact that everyone that had performed before me didn't sound like me. And then also they were all like, you know, people were like very nervous, very reserved, looking down at the ground, you know what I mean, staring at their feet instead of, you know, looking at the crowd, making eye contact and like really being. So that's what I was doing, because I was so used to my theatrical kind of performance style is, you know, movement and like connection and, you know, making eye contact and performing and like really being, you know, taking up the stage and you're like watching a performance. That's what I tried to do. Doesn't mean I always succeed at it, but I practice and I hone my craft and I try to put on a performance. And they loved it. They were like, man, I've never seen nothing like that, and I didn't expect it, especially coming to this little, you know, cafe in the college campus. It's like, we never see nothing like this and never hear nothing like this either. So it just taught me that valuable lesson of like, you should want to, everywhere you go, make an impression that's going to last. And if you just sound cookie cutter like everyone else, what makes you stand out from, like, that make people would want to remember who you are? You know what I'm saying? Like, why would they want to remember Acey? Why would they want to remember Art Morera? Why would they want to remember Ghost the Young Sage? if you just sounded just like all the other people that just performed on stage. So hate it or love it, I don't care. Honestly, even if I bomb, but if I made that impression on them, I'd rather have that word of mouth spreading. Like, man, I went to this show and there was this crazy guy and the music was wild and like, you know what I mean? But they're talking about it. So it's like, as long as I got that reaction, I'm straight. And do that everywhere you go, that word of mouth is going to start spreading. So that's all we need to do is take this on the road. And I'm just right now, me and Ghost, we're building the material. And like, once we hit the road, it's going to be doing that everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Hitting the road, man. I can't wait, bro. So, like, it's true. Everything that you said, I agreed with, man, because so there's this documentary that I must have watched like 15 times, bro. It's on YouTube. It's a guy that got in this pickup truck and he traveled around the country with his, I guess, with a camera crew. It was originally a PBS documentary, but like it's on YouTube now. I think it's called American Nomads, right? Or it's about drifters, right? These are people that drift around. So it touches base on like people that hitchhike, people that jump on trains, train hoppers, and then you have old people in RVs, you know, that just rendezvous in the middle of Arizona, you know. Then you have this like traveling priest that carries around in his RV a really big purple tent, and he sets up the tent and he passes out Xerox flyers saying, "Hey, I'm you know, church is tonight over here," and it's just like trying to save people, trying to convert people over to Christianity and have them like come to his church. And it's one of those priests that like he speaks in tongues while he high fives you and you collapse to the floor.
Oh, it's one of those what are evangelicals? Those guys?
I think so.
Yeah, the you're healed. The ones that do the
yes,
yeah,
and the person like collapsed to the floor. But like these people, they sold all their belongings that they don't need and that doesn't fit in their vehicle. Only their essentials, and they just take that leap, bro, and they just leave, and they learn to live with less so they could experience more. That's the reason why I have my cargo van. I bought a van because come April, God willing, when I get off probation, like, bro, you know, man, I gotta go, bro. Like, I have more fans outside of South Florida, unfortunately.
It's not unfortunate. It's completely fortunate that you can even reach people.
Thank God, bro. Like, and I want to be able to, you know, hit those spots, man. And that's why I bought the PA system, these mics, all this shit, bro.
All you need is a space.
I'm about to like be on that rest stop life, bro. You know,
yeah.
And you could do this with maybe find the local artists and
podcast
that, whatever area you're at.
Yeah, that's an idea too.
You could sell that to HBO. They already have stuff like that on HBO for like the barbershop stuff where they have like artists.
I'm saying he can build like a network of like people and everywhere he goes, and like, you know what I'm saying, like you take, you know, get on the road and you build relationships in that area. So every time you go back there, you know, you're straight. You're like, oh, I know this guy, I know that guy, whatever. And we can do shows together when I'm there. And you know what I mean? It's something I regret when Geek Squad, when we were in our heyday, is I would look at the analytics and I would see that we were reaching people across the country and across the world. Like, I remember we got blogged about in Russia. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, what? Who in Russia is listening to what we're doing? But we never left Miami. We never traveled. And it's like, that's a big regret, because it was like, man, when the iron was hot, we should have been taking this act on the road. People their minds would have been blown seeing, you know what I mean, experience something that hadn't been in hip hop for a long time. You know what I'm saying?
Something that I've come to realize is that when I was trying to get into the circuit of performance, it's like a lot of the artists down here are very haphazard in planning. So it's kind of hard to get concrete information so you can generate a good event plan as far as like putting out flyers and kind of generating a crowd to come to your show. And it's not that people don't want to work with each other. It's that people, let's just say they're absent-minded. But when I did shows down here, the crowd response was terrible. I mean, it wasn't necessarily, I always want to say it's the sound or the DJ set or the stage, but when it comes down to it, I wasn't very skilled yet, you know, but it was kind of me fighting to get my bearings, and I walk off stage in Wynwood one time thinking I bombed harder than I've ever bombed in like the history of any time. I don't expect anybody to come up to me, and somebody comes up to me and says, yo, your show, your music is freaking unbelievable, don't stop. And then I'm like, yeah, that's one guy. But then I go on tour with these guys to Orlando, and the crowd response is 100% different. Where like everybody else that has the bigger crowd down south that has been out there performing for a while down there, they go up there and get no love because for some reason they didn't resonate well with the crowd. Their material didn't hit them the same way. And then when I go up, I get the greatest show of my life.
So far.
Yeah, so far.
You know, on that note, man, I encourage everybody that's listening to, bro, obviously these guys, their Instagrams and their content, I'm gonna put their information in the description, you know. But be on the lookout for things that we have going on, man, and also go back too. Like, that's the joy of discovery. That's what's so dope about music. It's not like food in the fridge, bro. Like, the older that it gets, it's still brand new.
It's like liquor.
Yes. You know,
it gets better with age. At least good projects do.
I just re-uploaded my project Blue and Red, so it should be on all streaming platforms pretty soon. Which obviously once all the links are ready, I'll be putting it out. But revisiting that project again, I was just like, man, I kind of just like let it sit there and like didn't tour it, didn't do nothing with it. So you got to learn from your mistakes, and that was my first outing as a solo artist, you know, after a long time being in a group. So I didn't really know what to do. And now that I've linked with Ghost and a bunch of people and collaborating again, I'm starting to get that bearing of like, and that hunger is back again, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I'm ready to eat now, you know what I'm saying? And I'm a little bit older, a little bit wiser. So now there's going to be more strategy and there's going to be more thought put into everything I do. So it's not just, put it out and hope somebody out there, you know, special hears it and they want to put me on. It's like, no, I'm going to put the footwork in and grind it out and earn, you know, the respect and the acknowledgement from people. And that's all I feel like that's all you got to do. I just was too stubborn, I guess, or just thought the music's good enough that someone out there is going to hear it and their mind's going to be blown and they're going to want to share it with someone else, and it's going to spread like wildfire, and it's just not the way it works.
Well, we think we thought that's the way that it works because we hear all these stories of, man, you know, I uploaded it to SoundCloud and I just went to sleep.
It's a lie.
And then I woke up and there's all these plays, man. I don't know. It's just, bro, what a blessing, bro.
Nah.
Like, to me, that sounds almost like patronizing. It's like misleading. Bro, you don't know that you saw that video on Genius because they have a publicist that they pay $2,000 a month for just to even be able to get in that position, and they whatever. God bless them. That's great, bro. Because, man, if I had the same connects that the next man has, I probably would be making similar moves because I know my music is good enough.
A lot of those guys are already signed, and they don't announce it. It's not like official in the paperwork.
Oh, like an industry plant.
Yeah, that's how they get those. You know what I mean? That's how you be like, oh, how did this guy just pop out of nowhere, and now suddenly a song has millions of plays, and you know what I mean? And then you learn later on that they already had these connects in the industry. They're already working with people in the industry, and of course they can, you know, fudge up the numbers and get you on this playlist or that playlist. You know, that gets the numbers rising, and when the numbers start rising, you know, SoundCloud might put you on the front page to show off the song that's getting all these plays and stuff like that, and it just starts to generate more attention. Not to interject, bro, but like also people see us and see that we, you know, artists like us at our level, or even you know, like newer in the game, or even someone that has a couple years on us too, but that hasn't progressed in their careers, and they see that stagnancy as like reflection of the quality of music, which is not the case, because music is art. The music industry is a business, and those two things work hand in hand, but it's way more business savviness than it is artistry. And people, you know, because they don't know, because they're not in the music industry, they
misinterpret the person's music quality for lack of representation or lack of knowing how to navigate in the industry, you know?
I think a lot of people don't realize that while art is an art form, it is also a business. The Sistine Chapel, somebody commissioned for that to be built. Somebody put money down to make sure that it was executed properly by somebody who's a professional. And it's, to this day, probably one of the greatest standing pieces of art ever. Does it take away from the piece of art that because somebody had to pay for it? No. In fact, it kind of adds to it.
Another thing too, man, like I never had that business savvy or, you know what I mean? I had a hustle, but I didn't know the exact, like, oh, if I do this thing, this will get me this next thing. I never really had that, but the benefit of these young cats coming up is they have the internet and they have all this information and they, you know what I'm saying? So they're very strategic with everything they do too as well. I have to give them props. I can't just be knocking them down, you know what I'm saying? Also,
man, like having, mind you, what I'm gonna say now, I'm guilty of it. Or at one point in time I was guilty of it, and I got checked for it by a friend of mine, and then I had to, from then on, check myself whenever I fell back into it, which is bitterness, you know, like being
the
bitter.
Miami sound.
like being, you know what I'm saying? Being bitter.
I 100% know what you're saying.
Being bitter from like entitlement. You see someone that you feel like you're equally as talented as, for, and however you want to interpret that, but they're progressing, you're kind of stagnant, you haven't broken through whatever threshold, and you start to view the world like it's against you. And I feel like, mind you, I'm gonna get a little deep here, I feel like your attitude, like your appreciation for just how your life is going, or how the hidden lessons and things, that opens up the window for the blessings to come in, you know? Whereas if you're bitter all the time, doesn't matter how good you are or how much you know, that closes out God's blessings, the universe's compatibility with your trajectory, you know?
Yeah, I see a lot of those memes on like social media that talk about that kind of reference the bitterness that you're talking about, where it says something along the lines of, I don't understand why we have a hard time feeding veterans and stuff like that when we give crackheads methadone for free and stuff like that. It's like, why do the two even have to be related? Like, why are you even bringing in the people that have an addiction to a drug? Like, why does that matter? You're just trying to hate on somebody. Like, you're trying to put hate on something. Why is anybody starving to begin with? Why does it have to be because somebody else is getting something that this other person is getting robbed of something? That's not how it works. You know what I mean? That bitterness of like, it's just bitterness, like you said. It's just somebody who's bitter that these people are being given a helping hand when people that they want helped aren't being helped. And it's like, that's not helping anybody. That logic, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like if you walk around with a bitter attitude, dog, no one's gonna want to be a fan of you, bro. Like, and that's what I mean way back in the podcast, talking about like you got the music, but then you got the man, and the man is the foundation of the music that the man creates. And if the man is bitter, the music is gonna have a bitter undertone, because that is what the person is conveying. You know, art imitates life. You know, and that's why, especially now, you see all over social media, like artists have this outward like personality, like all smiles, hugs with their fans, high-fiving everybody, everyone's kumbaya. And the reason why is because that likability makes people take a liking to what you got going on way more than someone that's mean mugging the entire time, talking about, yeah, nah, but see, like I'm super dope, you should be rocking with me. That's why you got certain artists that aren't as talented as they aren't as likable. People that I fuck with like artists like Russ, because I think he's talented, but even he knows that he has a chip on his shoulder, and that hinders his appeal, you know?
Yeah, one thing that's like been a more recent change in my music, how I write it, is my perception of negative things that have happened in my life. If you wrote a song about like a negative situation or something that you had to deal with, you would write it negative. I especially would write it, thinking about it from the negative perspective.
With a darker edge.
Yeah, with a darker edge of like, woe is me. Instead of now where I feel like I can talk about the same exact thing that, the same situation, but I give now a message to someone who might be going through the same thing that I was going through and be like, look, there's a light at the end of that tunnel. You know what I mean? Like more positive spin on that negative, like look back on it and now see what you've learned from it or what you can do to grow from that. You know what I'm saying?
It's like perseverance almost.
It's the perseverance. So I can talk about maybe, depression, right? But instead of making a song about how I'm bummed out, I can talk about beating it. I can talk about overcoming it. You know what I mean? Still, you could relate to it because, man, I'm going through it. But I'm not saying you're just going to stay down at the bottom. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, man, that's where you feel like you're at right now. You can pick yourself up, though. You know what I'm saying? Or you can try to fight through it or find a way to persevere. And that's, you get what I'm trying to say? Instead of just being like, oh, negative. I feel like no one wants to hear something that's going to just, it's just a downer, is always going to put me in that mood. Instead of something that can feel like, I can relate to where you were at there, but it's also making me feel good and making me want to like, grind or hustle or motivate me or I don't feel so down. Like if I put on an ACA song, I don't feel like it's going to drag me down with him. Instead, it feels like he's going to hold out a hand and help me up. And I feel like that's something I couldn't do before because I was so bitter and so angry at every situation that was happening in my life. I was just like, why is everything just keeps dumping on me? Like everything's just falling on my shoulders and I can't carry this load anymore. Instead of being like, you know what, man, this is everything I went through made me who I am right now. And there's probably someone out there going through way worse. And
it's like
maybe
when the world...
my music could motivate them to want to like, strive and persevere through it. It might be the thing that gets them through that situation. So instead of just wallowing in the sadness, let's look at the other side of it and try to make something meaningful for people.
It seems like there's a point in depression where it's like you feel like the world is pushing you down and stuff, so that when you get the opportunity to push down anything, you take it. It's like, I finally get that power. And then that's where the depression isn't regressing. It's not you're not gaining anything by doing it except for your own self edification. But is it really beneficial to you for your soul, for your future? Is that taking the opportunity to be bitter? Is that making your day better? Is it helping you progress towards your goal or your aspirations?
Well, I feel like addressing a negative emotion can be healthy to an extent because when you break your arm, your body experiences pain because that's your body telling your brain that you're injured. So that's like that indication, that pain is like making you aware that something's wrong. Mm-hmm. But then after a while, you've been made aware of the pain and you can either choose to bask in it or like fix it
or ignore it, like keep going. You know what I mean? Like sort of put it off out of your mind. I get what you're saying though.
Yeah, it's like, bro, like some people, okay, your arm gets broken and it hurts for 2 hours and then you you go to the hospital, put the cast on. Like it hurt the most those first 2 hours and then the adrenaline comes in and every time that you have to like talk about it, it might be a little uncomfortable because you're sitting here with an injury. But bro, after a while, it's like that shit doesn't hurt no more.
I was feeling like really relatable to that since when I was in high school. I broke my neck at a family party. I had jumped into an above ground swimming pool and I landed on my head. I didn't see a doctor because my parents, they couldn't afford it. I came up out of the water and I was like, I'm pretty sure I broke my neck. And they were like, can you move it? And I, yeah, a little bit. So I just went about my life continuing on with the severe fucking spinal cord vertebrae damage. I dropped out of high school. I ended up having to fend for myself and, do all this stuff that I wasn't necessarily prepared for. And I was struggling and I didn't know why. I was just in a lot of pain and I was depressed. And then come to find out years later that I was injured, like really badly. The doctor said the base of my spine and my neck, there's a vertebrae that's 20% the size of all the other ones. And I'm having a hard time holding up my head and stuff. But I took that and I could have just said, oh, well, let me just clock out because I'm disabled, like I can't be responsible for busting my ass I just kind of let it run my life and say, oh, I give up. I didn't do that. I was like, I've been working my ass off this whole time with this injury and making it no matter what. Like, nothing's going to stop me. And just because I found this out, I'm already healed. I did my therapy on my own. And, I mean, did it make me better? No. But what I mean is, like, I didn't wallow in the pain. And I still have pain. And it's still, a little bit. I work a very physical job in construction where it should affect me. And most people probably couldn't do what I do. But I don't let it stop me. I have dreams and I have goals, and that's always the focus. The pain goes away after that.
I feel like people that can continue, they almost like give up prematurely. You give up prematurely when you still got more in you to go on. It's when you literally can't anymore that you wish you could go on. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, people that I feel like depression, right? Like, right now, depression is such a popular topic in the world. But, and mind you, I've gone through my own little episodes too, right? I feel like when people get depressed, that is a hurdle, an internal hurdle that seems to hold us back. But we know that if we really needed to, we can go on. Whereas something that can happen to you that really immobilizes you, really like cripples you, and like, let's say you're paralyzed for the rest of your life, those people tend to have like the best attitudes because they have so much more appreciation for life.
You never know what you got until it's gone.
Facts. There you go.
Yeah, man. That's where I have a new track on my project, and my brother he ended up telling me like, oh, out of all the songs on the new EP, that's my favorite one, and it's called Through the Night. Is with me and Ghost on it, and it's just basically about seeing the light, through the night, through darkness, through all the things going through, still finding that energy to go out and get yours. You know what I'm saying? Like, through all the darkness, through all those bad thoughts, through everything. You know what I'm saying? Everything life's thrown at you. Just still finding that strength to hustle. You know what I'm saying? And I start my verse saying, if there's any lint in my pocket, I'm going to make it switch into profit. So it's like, even if my pocket's empty, that's just motivation to go out and get something. You know what I mean? So I think that's the change, the shift in my music. Before, I think I was just looking in the mirror and only making music that was just, it's for that guy. Instead of looking out into the world or making something that I feel like people can really resonate with them, or even can be something that motivates them or just makes their mood shift. Maybe you could work out to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like I was always just me, and just that my ego was always just looking at just all about me and just how I feel about it, versus this is what I was going through, but this is a perspective that can maybe change the way you think about what you're going through, or maybe helps you go through what you're going through, or can just even be the music's good enough to be background music for you're at a party or you're at or working out. It can just be a music that you listen to that helps you just get through that tough workout. You know what I'm saying?
The production on that song is fantastic.
Exactly. So me and Ghost put a lot of work into that, and I feel like that's the direction my music's going now, and that's where I want to keep it, is making music that's beyond just my own ego or my own life. It's gaining perspective on my life that can help someone else who might be going through the same shit, or that they can relate to, and maybe help them out the way that my favorite artist did for me. Them talking about like You know what I mean? Being in a shitty ass apartment with all their brothers and their sisters, and you know what I mean, growing up broke and having to hustle and all this stuff. I could relate to it because it was shit that I was going through as a child. So I want to bring that same thing to the next generation as well, and to pass that on, that tradition that's in every genre of music had that, you know, passing it down generation. Hip hop has kind of like had that cutoff point where it's like a generational gap, and there doesn't need to be that. You know what I'm saying? You can still make something that can resonate with the audience and gives them that game to, you know, pay it forward and pass it on to the next generation as well.
I feel like there's some symbolism in the mirror, because the mirror is glass, and you look at the mirror and you see yourself, but a window is also glass, but you can see through it and see the rest of the world. And if you got something on the other side of that glass, you only see yourself. You know how you can kind of look out a window from an angle, and you can see yourself as well in the glass. So it's like you got the glass or you got the window, you know, and you can choose how you could approach the world, you know?
Yeah, I have a lyric in the song One Day at a Time about, you know, taking shit one day at a time. And I started out by saying, I see everything much clearer. I found my greatest enemy by looking in the mirror. You know what I mean? That self-defeat. I was defeating myself before I would do anything. You know what I mean? Before anyone could even reject me, I'm already setting myself up for that failure. Like, they're going to tell me no. They're going to do, like, everything in my life. You know what I mean? I was battling myself. I was beating myself down before anyone else can beat me up. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you can't hit me worse than I hit myself. You can't hate me more than I hate me. You know what I mean? And once I realized that, I started to shift, you know what I mean, my perspective on things, and finally address the fact that, no, I'm not my, you know, biggest enemy anymore. You know what I'm saying? Now be friends with that guy in the mirror and actually start to love that guy in the mirror. And maybe through that, someone who, like I said, feeling just how I felt can hear that and be like, damn, I was like that too, or I'm like that right now. You know what I'm saying? And I can change that.
That's dope, man.
What I like about that whole connection to the mirror thing is when I was in Dade for school, one of the electives I took was anthropology, the study of culture. Because as soon as I saw what it meant, I was like, for sure, I want to, as a musician who's doing hip hop, you know, I want to study more about culture. And luckily, I got a teacher who was, she had done her master's degree in studying when you do an anthropological degree, they make you go and do seminal research in a place that's completely rural and isolated, and you have to live there for a whole year and kind of write a whole research paper on it. And she did hers in Haiti, and she blew me away, because when you hear about Haitian religion and you hear about voodoo, everybody gets really freaked out and kind of, you know, scared of it, because there's all this preconceived notions of like the skeletons and bones and stuff, and it's really dark sounding stuff. But what people don't know is that the religion is actually based off of the idea that life is seen through a cosmic mirror. And when you look into, when everything that you do in your reality reflects into this mirror, and you know, can affect you in different ways. So it's like if you do something negative, it's reflected in that mirror back onto you.
Yeah, that's the law of attraction for sure.
You know, it's like, just interesting.
What you put out comes back. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like a boomerang of energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just crazy because we don't know all this. Like religions get so stigmatized that people are afraid to really analyze the full scope of some of them. You know, like everybody wants to go and investigate Buddhism because, you know, it sounds nice and it's peaceful, and the Native American stuff as well, you know, but people get scared of stuff like voodoo and Santeria and all this other stuff. But if you go far enough back and you look at the purest forms of it, you know, some of it's not all just crazy voodoo dolls and, you know, blood oaths and stuff like that. You know, some of it's actually really potent, metaphorical understanding of our atmosphere and our space.
Well, I mean, I feel like the word crazy is dismissive, but it's also in the eye of the beholder, bro, because we look at people in, for example, in Haiti or in Africa, they have these tribes that they choose to stay secluded, and we look at them like they're crazy, but they look at I-95 North and you're stuck in traffic for an hour and a half and you're like, damn, That's crazy. You know, it's just I feel like it's all
man.
Perspective for real. But on that note, man, I think that's a good note to close out on. Guys, thank you for tuning in. This is one of my favorite episodes, the stuff that we've touched on. And as far as going back to the music, if you haven't heard, mind you, I feel like such a promotional person right now, but you know I got to do it, man. Like, go on Spotify and check out Acey's music. Check out Ghost of Young Sage's music. I've actually had the pleasure of working with both these guys on music. Ghost and I have a song called What's Next. It's on this project called Buena Gente. And Acey's produced a song for me called Telltale Heart, which is on my first EP, which, by the way, thanks, man. You know what I'm saying?
You already know, bro.
Yo, that's 2012, bro. We're talking about 7 years ago.
And I still jammed to that track. That's one of my all-time favorites, actually.
Telltale Heart is ill. I love that song, man. I was hoping to delve more into it because you gave me the beat, and I made a song from the perspective of the heart that Edgar Allan Poe wrote about, being lost in the Telltale Heart story, you know? It's about heartbreak. But
we can always do this again, man.
Yeah, you know. Which, by the way, it'll probably be cool if you come through, because I've been doing these like song breakdowns. It's a podcast episode, but we plug the aux into this recorder and then we play and pause and break down the record, you know?
Oh man.
So it's like I did that for this one song called 4, and that was pretty well received. So I think I'm gonna do some more of that. Which is dope. But check out Acey's, check out Ghost of Young Sage, and don't worry about me, guys. But with that being said, y'all have any closing words?
Check out the new single that I just put out on my new tape with Acey's called Never Gonna Stop. Definitely a banger to enjoy.
Fire. And you? All right, my man. That being said, guys, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you see us out on the street, say what's up, but don't mind us if we're going through it. And we out, guys. Peace.
Medianoche. Medianoche.
Medianoche.
Medianoche.
Medianoche.
Medianoche. Medianoche.
Medianoche.
Podcast.
Medianoche.
Podcast.
Medianoche.
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 Podcast.